What is Half-Life? Half-Life is a retro first-person shooter released November 19th, 1998 by Valve Corporation, published by Sierra Entertainment. The game starts you off as a theoretical physicist named Gordon Freeman, who works at the Black Mesa research facility. You arrive at Black Mesa. Some systems are just not working right, it seems. Oh well. You start making your daily rounds, saying hi to colleagues.
Good morning, Gordon.
Go in your locker, assessing your stuff, and equipping your hazardous environment suit. Because today is the big day. Today, in Anomalous Materials, you are going to be going to the chest chamber. You're going to be pushing this weird yellow foreign rock into something called the anti-mass spectrometer. There are multiple little warning signs.
It's probably not a problem. Probably, but I'm showing a small discrepancy in, well, no, it's well within acceptable bounds again. Sustaining sequence.
When you do, something big happens. Something goes wrong.
Get away from the beat. Shutting down. No. Attempted shutting down. It's not. It's not. It's not shutting down. It's not.
You get teleported in and out multiple times. You get teleported to this strange place. What is this? Where are you? What are these creatures around you? You wonder as you then get teleported back again.
You stalled a resonance cascade, a full alien invasion. Well, technically it wasn't you who called the shots, but more as the administrator / Dr. Breen. You'll see him in Half-Life 2. Anyways, the facility starts falling apart. Aliens around every corner. Places getting flooded, destroyed. Death. A lot of death. Your friend, Eli Vance, who comes up again in Half-Life 2, sends you upstairs to the surface to tell everyone that the phones are out, and to come down and send someone to rescue everyone, as they're pretty much stranded down there and cut off from the entire planet. Eventually, the military, or the HECU, the Hazardous Environment Combat Unit, get a hold of what's happening at Black Mesa. You think they'd be there to rescue everyone, right?
Rescued at last. Thank God you're here.
Well, you were wrong. Instead, the government plans to cover up the entire situation and the entire resonance cascade by killing off everyone in sight. So now Gordon, obviously killing the soldiers in self-defense, has a big target on his head.
Where's Freeman? We don't have time to mess around here.
You've got to believe me. Freeman could be anywhere.
I'm not letting you go until you talk.
Meaning you have to fight the aliens and the United States Army. Not even to mention the Black Ops, which come up later. Gordon makes it to the surface. His main goal is to send a rocket up to the sky in order to stop the alien invasion on our side.
The original science team tried launching it. It failed because the military aborted it.
Then Gordon physically goes there and launches it himself. That's a success. We closed it on our side. Thing is, it's not closed in Zen.
So then Gordon's got to go all the way to the Lambda complex in order to, through there, go to Zen in order to shut it down, by killing the thing that's holding it open. After launching the rocket, fighting Black Ops assassins, getting jumped by the HECU, then getting thrown in a trash compactor, escaping, then fighting your entire way through the biological waste processing plant, then you finally make it to the Advanced Biological Research Lab. But before leaving on his way to the Lambda complex, Gordon finds something that flips everything we know on its head. Gordon finds the Advanced Biological Research Lab, a lab filled with the aliens that we've fought throughout this journey so far. Thing is, they didn't come here on their own. There were scientists that put them here. Now knowing this, what is the lab's purpose? A lab solely dedicated to bringing things in from Zen, which is a border world dimension that is overlapping and can connect to other dimensions, meaning all the aliens we've encountered so far aren't even from Zen, they're from another dimension and they migrated there. Because now that we know the scientists know how to teleport to Zen, it is quite apparent that regularly they've been bringing things back from there, such as different fauna, and also head crabs, hound eyes, barnacles, bull squids, ichthyosaurs, and alien grunts, along with a few others which are in Half-Life opposing force. In Zen, Gordon finds the Vortigons,
which are enslaved, an alien race, and they are being controlled by the Nine-Lymph, a giant alien baby with a third arm. There's more theories that this is controlled by the Combine and that he was running away from the Combine from Half-Life 2 when they took over our universe in that game, but that has nothing to do with this. Anyways, Gordon has to take him down in order to close the portal, which he did. Then, something happens. A mysterious man, if he even is a man, a mysterious being named the G-Man, swoops up Gordon and puts him in stasis, telling him that his employers would like him to work for them. And pretty much he doesn't have a choice, or he's pretty much going to kill him.
Time to choose.
So, Gordon accepts.
Wisely done, Mr. Freeman. I will see you up ahead.
And that's the end of Half-Life 1. Then he was in stasis for 25 years and the whole Earth was controlled by aliens, so that was Half-Life 2. But anyways, that's a somewhat brief overview of the story of Half-Life. A revolutionary first-person shooter for the entire genre, being the first to have a true live story happening in front of you, contrary to Doom or Quake where it's just in text boxes and it's an arena shooter. This is a linear story-based shooter with full voice acting, scripted sequences, animations, in-game cutscenes, not rendered cutscenes where you're out of control. You have full control at all times, and it's always in first person, along with their new lighting at the time and many other things, which was a big thing for its time. But this game was a staple to FPS in general, and the entire, I would say, gaming industry as a whole. There's a lot of things that either wouldn't have happened the way they did, or at all, like Halo, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, Perfect Dark, Day of Defeat, Team Fortress, Battlefield, Medal of Honor, and so many others. The first question to answer is, what is the game's design, gameplay, rules, environment, and narrative? Well, I explained the narrative. You are pretty much trying to escape Black Mesa and stop the alien invasion, or, as it's called in the game, the Resonance Cascade. The genre is first-person shooter. The gameplay consists of 5-minute breaks for puzzles, traversing areas, exploring, getting from point A to point B, and around 3 minutes, 6 minutes of combat.
Your arsenal consists of many weapons.
A crowbar, a Glock 17, MK2 grenades, a Spaz 12, an MP5,
a 357 Magnum,
the Black Mesa crossbow, the Tau cannon, which is an energy weapon that charges up and shoots a huge beam of energy, and also it can go through walls sometimes and shoot you far off the map. That's pretty cool. The Gluon gun is another beam energy weapon that shoots a huge beam of energy and pretty much rips apart anything in its path. Laser trip mines, an RPG, a hive hand that shoots alien hornets out of it. That's pretty cool. Satchel charges, snark aliens that you can deploy and they'll attack whatever you aim it at. Make sure there's enemies in your path, or otherwise they'll come and attack you. Yikes. And that's it. All these various items are acquired throughout the time of the game, and is paced very well. Half-Life has multiple rules built within the game. Multiple that you wouldn't even notice if you didn't look into it.
One of those rules is real-time logic.
Now, games before this, like Doom or Quake, you could just run in a room and start shooting everything in your path. You can't do that in Half-Life. One example of this is in the chapter Power Up. This is where you meet the Gargantua, a blue, gigantic, metal-plated alien that shoots fire from its hands and has these energy blasts that come from its face. You can't just run right up to this thing and start blasting at it. You're gonna die. Real fast. Valve even shows you this by showing 2 HECU grunts fighting it. They don't live very long. But anyways, what you're supposed to do is turn on the power for the room. Once it's on and you get its attention, you then lure it to a giant power generator where electric literally blows it up. Pretty cool.
Another rule is to be aware of your surroundings.
This can be seen by the most simple enemy in the game, the barnacle. It's literally just a meat thing hanging from the ceiling that has a very long tongue. When you walk into it, it pulls you up and starts to eat you. Meaning you gotta look around, make sure you don't walk into these things, because sometimes there's a lot of them. And you don't want to be barnacle bait, meaning you gotta be on the lookout and be aware of your surroundings.
Another rule is the world moves around you.
For example, the AGCU grunts. If you hide behind cover long enough, you think you can just cheese the fight. That's not gonna work. They'll whip grenades at you, they'll flank you, multiple at a time, start kicking you, punching you, even maybe possibly breaking the object you're behind. Especially in Half-Life 2 with their new physics system, this is heavily showcased in the sniper fight. But we're on Half-Life 1. Another example of this is the tentacle enemies from the big chapter, Blast Pit. When you encounter the tentacle for the first time, a Black Mesa security guard tells you,
"Be quiet. This thing hears us."
Valve even spent the time to show how dangerous this is to the player by showing another Black Mesa security guard running straight up to it and trying to fire a gun at it. That didn't go very well for him. So what do you have to do, you may ask? Well, you have to take these grenades, and you have to quietly crouch your way all the way down to the different doors, activating the fuel and the different things needed to power the big thruster that burns it to death, using grenades to deter it and distract it while you're making loud noises. Now we're on environment. The environment is completely fine. Honestly, it looks very nice for 1998, but here we're not judging graphical standards, we're judging environment in terms of storytelling.
The environment at the beginning, your average day at work. Once the residence cascade happens, it becomes a dangerous living nightmare. You can see the rooms that you once were in literally 5 minutes earlier completely destroyed and full of blood. Or the hallway you just previously walked through is now filled with destroyed machinery, 3 dead scientists, and a scientist trying to revive the security guard. Then as the game progresses and it's revealed that the HECU are not there to help you, you can see the scientists be hopeful for being rescued,
Overheard a secure access transmission. Soldiers have arrived, and they're coming to rescue us.
to being afraid of dying.
Well, so much for the government. Their idea of containment is to kill everyone associated with the project.
And wondering what some of these places looked like before they were destroyed by the residence cascade. Or once reaching the surface, going outside and hearing the distant gunfire and war going on in the background of the military attempting to fight off the alien invasion. Or something so minuscule such as a scientist being eaten by a bull squid and piles of blood all over. That's something called world building. And up until Half-Life, we've seen nothing like this in the FPS genre, especially at a scale like this.
Now, finally, the user interface. Half-Life has a user interface that is very different for the time, which is honestly quite standard now. Let's start off with the basics. Health and HEV power. Health is displayed in the bottom left corner right next to the HEV power, which is to the right of it. Your health is always on screen, which is good, so the player knows how close they are to dying. Next, HEV power. This is pretty much shield or damage input that your suit can take before it starts eating away at your health. Almost like a second health bar. Next up, the flashlight. The flashlight plays a major part in the Half-Life series, especially in its infamous vents. The flashlight meter shows how much flashlight power is left and how much has been used so far when you turn it on. When you completely empty it, it just shuts off, and then it eventually recharges, which is pretty nice. Next is the weapon selection.
The weapon HUD appears in the top left corner of the screen. The weapon selection works in two different ways, either by hitting a key 1 to 6 to open the HUD, or by using the mouse wheel. To select a weapon, either hit the key again to go through the different weapons on that slot, and click or hit enter to select the weapon. Once you get used to it, it's very easy to select weapons mid-fight, and it's very useful. This isn't a part of the HUD, but hitting Q will select to your previously selected weapon, meaning you can quick swap back and forth. There's also an option for quick swap in the original retail version of the game, the wand port.
Next up, pickup history.
The pickup history appears in the middle right part of your screen. The function of the pickup history is to show what item you just picked up, that being a med kit, HEV batteries, a weapon, or ammo. Next up, ammo reserve. This appears at the bottom right corner of your screen and shows how much ammo you currently have in your weapon, along with the ammo in reserve that you have to use. Next up, vehicle HUD. This only appears a few times in the game whenever you're using a tram in either the hazard course or in on a rail. Its function is to show the different levels of speed you can use on the tram. There are 3 levels of speed that are achieved by hitting W key once more. To slow it down, you just hit the S key and it goes down 1 level. Next up, the crosshair. The most basic thing to appear in the user interface. They appear whenever you have something that fires something equipped. Next up, damage indicators. These appear whenever you're shot from any direction, meaning if you're shot from the left, one will appear on the left, right, one will appear on the right, etc. This also ties into damage hazards, which is another HUD element. It'll show if you're taking biohazard damage, chemical damage, cold-based damage, drowning, heat damage, poison damage, radiation damage, and shock damage. There's another one called gas damage, which you would have received from nerve gas. This was removed from the game, and it's left over from the alpha. The final part of the HUD is the HEV voice. This is an audio-based voice that plays different audio cues depending on what's happening, either when you first power on the suit.
Welcome to the HEV Mark IV protective system for use in hazardous environment conditions.
Take fall damage, near death, or you need medical attention. It's an integral part of the HUD in the Half-Life series, and there's a lot of different voice lines that it announces, many of them being cut in the first game. Now the conclusion. In conclusion, Half-Life has many different aspects of design that enhance the playability and the experience of the game. One being movement, another being level design, third being the revolutionary storytelling that it has for its time, along with its famous memorable moments and story beats, fourth being enemy variety, fifth being the music and sound design, sixth being the combat loop and gunplay, seventh being the main game's art style, along with the game's overall retro art style due to being developed in 1998, eighth being the game's overall atmosphere, ninth being the game's natural replayability, and 10th being the user interface. And that's an analysis of Half-Life as a game, along with its gameplay, its rules, its environments, its narrative, and its user interface. We'll see you when I see you. Have a good one.